This is Kathy Pachaka. It is February 4th, 2025. I'm sitting here in the genealogy room at Christ Hamilton United Lutheran Church in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania with Sandy Lee. Also in the room doing the recording is Rich Wiegand. We are here to learn about Sandy Lee and her history attending Christ Hamilton. So Sandy, when were you born? Just the year.
Well, that's a cool question.
I know, but it gives us an idea of your history.
1944.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your background. Where were you born?
I was born in Bethlehem, in St. Luke's Hospital. My family lived in Bethlehem at the time.
Okay. Where were you baptized?
I was baptized here in Christ Hamilton.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
And where did you go to school?
Well, I went to school. At that time when I was starting school, we were Monroe County schools, one-room schools. We were not part of Stroudsburg. So there's a little school that's up here at the corner of Smith Road and Bowsersville Road. That little house was a one-room school.
Oh, wow.
They've made it into a home. And then we had grades 1 through 8, and that's where I went for first grade.
Wow. Did you walk there? How did you get to school?
Oh, it was a walk. I mean, there was nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just 60 feet maybe.
Oh, okay.
Because we lived right next to the church here.
That's right. Oh, right next to the Covenant House, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have been attending Christ Hamilton ever since you were baptized here. Is that correct?
As far as I know, I don't really remember being baptized, and I don't remember when I first started here.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that. So,
Did you want more information on the schooling, or?
if you'd like to tell us a little bit more, you can.
Well, it was interesting because my first year was up here at Center, and then the next year they were working on merging with the Stroud Union, so that we could get rid of some of these little schools. So then they switched it. Instead of having 8 grades in the one room, they had 4.
Oh.
So they took every other grade out and went to another school. And I happened to go down to Bell School, that little brick school in Cherry Valley.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, no, and then it was a museum. But we got taxied down there every day. I think there were about 5 of us.
Right.
So it was very interesting.
Yes.
And that was 2nd grade and 3rd grade. And then in 4th grade, they had built the Hamilton Elementary School. They had proceeded enough for that. And then I went into 4th grade over there.
Well,
Nice new school.
Yeah, that was a big change,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
bathroom and all.
Yeah.
Because we all had outhouses.
Yeah. Well, that's good because that gives us some history of
Yes.
these small schoolhouses that we do
Yes.
see around here
Yes.
that are still standing. Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's good. What is your earliest memory of your time in this church?
Honestly, the earliest memory is playing up in the upstairs pews. I was fascinated by those pews and then those little cubby holes at the end of each pew on the organ side. And I just loved being up in there.
A child's delight. What's your fondest memory of your time at Christ Hamilton?
Well, I kind of have 2 that were together. The one was the nativity that we used to do Christmas Eve.
Oh, tell us about
And
that.
that was really nice. It was, our church service was at 11 o'clock at night. We only had one. And we had the church service, and about 20 of 12 they started with the nativity. And someone was reading the nativity story, and then we had real people acting out the parts of the characters in the nativity. So we had a Mary, and we had a Joseph, and it was a manger, and there was a baby doll, of course, and this was up in front of the chancel. And then we had the wise men. We had, we had costumes for them. And I don't remember if we did animals. I don't think so. But then there were angels, and we were angels.
Oh.
My mother used to laugh at that. But the angels then were placed on the chancel steps,
Yes.
and then one up in the pulpit. So we had choir robes, white choir robes, and then we had these angel wings that were not very predictable. And of course, being the tallest girl, I was always up
You're at the top.
at the pulpit. So But it was really nice. It was nice. It just got late, you know. And
Yeah. Do you remember around the time frame of that, like how old you were, around what years that was?
oh, I would imagine that it had always been, and I suppose I was maybe 12,
Okay.
13 at that point. Yeah.
It's a really nice tradition to
Yeah, it was
remember.
really nice. And then we did the silent night and the candle lighting also at the
Right,
end of the
right.
service.
Yeah, as we still do today.
Yes.
So that's a nice tradition.
It is,
That
yes.
has been kept.
Yes.
Great, great. Who was the most influential person in your faith development at Christ Hamilton?
My father,
Right.
Jacob Hartman.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit in what way?
Well, Daddy was very involved in Bible study, and he taught, and had that in a different question. He taught
Okay.
adult Sunday school classes.
Okay.
At that time, the Sunday school was separate from the church because we had the two different denominations in
Yes.
the church and one Sunday school. So the Sunday school had their own treasury and their own thing.
Mm.
So he was teaching an adult class, but of course we were all in the church, scattered all over upstairs in little pods, where you could find a room to put somebody because we had nowhere else
Yes.
to put them.
Right. Okay. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
What was your involvement in Christian education, whether it was Sunday school, youth group,
Yeah.
Bible study?
Well, my first involvement was with youth group. There was a Luther League that was, and it was a combination of the four churches. And I wasn't really old enough, so I just tagged along. But it was interesting, and I remembered that well. And I don't know how old I would have been, but I don't. But we went to different churches for the meetings.
Okay. Yes, because going back, as you were saying, the Christ Hamilton had two congregations. There was the Reformed,
Yes.
and so you
The
were
Lutheran.
in the Lutheran.
Yes.
Okay, and then that you shared the church, but your Sunday school times were
Yes.
scattered.
Well, the Lutheran, we had, our pastors had four churches, the Reformed pastor and the Lutheran pastor. And so we had church every Sunday, but the ministers would change.
Okay.
One Sunday it was a minister Lutheran, the next Sunday it was a Reformed. But people mostly just came to church. It wasn't really, oh, we won't go this week, it's the other denomination.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Did you receive confirmation here at Christ Hamilton?
Yes, I did.
What are your memories, of Christ, of your confirmation instruction, and what was the pastor's role in that?
I have hardly any recollection of
Okay.
that. I
Yeah,
do
that's a-
remember that it was a 2-year program for the first time because it had always been a year. And I think maybe the class before me was 2 years as well. But I don't honestly remember. Pastor Zook was the pastor who was
Pastor
here.
Zook, yeah.
And I don't remember what the confirmation was
Right.
consisted of.
And that would have been during high school, because typically now it's
Yeah.
like around 10th grade,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing.
And we did, then I did do that on my own when I was back in teaching myself.
Okay.
Because I had taught in the Sunday school
Yeah.
and I was superintendent of Sunday school. And I taught in VBS and, then I taught a confirmation class. And we really had the latitude to decide what we wanted to teach. So they had electives. So I decided I was going to teach the kids to learn the liturgy so that when they were sitting in church they could follow along. They didn't, have to get lost. So I did that. And then one of the other things that the group chose was to go to different churches, and you could choose 4 different denominations to visit, which we did that. And that was interesting,
Yeah. Yeah.
the contrast.
Yeah.
the
And you had that
different ways.
opportunity, it's almost like to revisit it.
It was, yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Did you serve on church council or any committees?
yeah, I was on church council twice,
Okay.
like 10 years apart.
Okay.
And I served on the Christian Ed committee,
Mhm.
and I served on the outreach committee.
Okay. Yes.
And I don't know if there were others, I don't know, we were always so busy, I don't And I was very active in the HCW, which was the Hamilton Church Women.
Yes, I have some, in
Yes.
our genealogy collection, I have some minutes,
Mhm.
and a lot of detail in
Yes.
what the women did, and
Yes.
it was a lot that you did
We-
for the congregation.
We did a lot because when we started, and when I was little, there was a Sunday school class of adult women, and it was called the Ever Welcome class. They did not come to church, but they would meet every month in someone's home.
Okay.
And there were 2 people that were responsible for hosting that meeting, and they had, little food things and stuff to offer. And that group, they had penny suppers and things like that out at the Sailorsburg Firehouse, and I know, but they had raised close to $30,000.
Wow.
That little class, because everybody has been looking for something to do for community building for our church, because we still had just the outhouse.
Yes.
And so they did, and then when we started the HCW, were no longer active, and so that's what we took over.
Right.
And we had a lot of projects that we did to raise
Yes.
money.
Yes, I read that everything from like replacing carpeting in the parsonage,
Yes.
or contributing towards the kitchen,
Yeah,
and
we had to buy dishes. We had no dishes for
Yeah.
the kitchen, so we had to buy some institutional dishes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was good. We used to have weddings, receptions, and anything we could do.
Yeah, yeah. I know building this Covenant house that we're sitting in right now was huge.
Yes.
Because I saw photos and such of all kinds of education classes going on, and
Yes.
people were sitting up by the altar, up in the pews,
Yes.
in little corners here, there. So sounds like the Covenant house was very much needed.
Oh, it was
at that
very much
time.
needed. And before the Covenant House, when Pastor Ritterpusch came, he actually used that $30,000 or whatever he needed of it to buy a trailer. And the trailer was installed over on the other side of the church. So that gave us rooms for Sunday school, and especially for the children, the smaller
Yes.
classes, smaller
Right,
kids, and places for the council to meet and stuff like that.
And that came before the Covenant house, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was our stopgap.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So it sounds like you enjoyed your experiences.
Oh, I did. I had a wonderful time.
Good. Good to hear. Okay. Did you participate in choir or other worship and music activities?
Well, yeah, I joined the choir, but I can't carry a tune, so I just sort of silently snuck out.
Okay. All right. That's okay. What was your family's involvement in the congregation?
Well, Dad, as I had mentioned to you before, was devoted to Bible study. He taught the adult Sunday school. We sang in the choir. He served as director at time. Served on the council several times. And I think he even served as custodian when needed.
Oh, okay.
And Mother, she was an organist for 40 years and church secretary for 30. They were members of this church long before I have any memory, and they remained so until their deaths. The church was the strength of our lives. It was so central in our life. I played through the pews as a child during the long hours my parents were here. She was playing the organ, Daddy was choir. I attended Sunday school, and I have here many times dragged. I was confirmed, married, taught Sunday school, served as Sunday school superintendent, council member, and tried the choir, but that didn't work. My children were both baptized and confirmed here.
Truly, truly a lifelong member
It
of
is
Christ
a
Hamilton.
lifelong member. It's to sit in that sanctuary. It just, my heart is so content.
Yes, yes. Comfort.
Oh,
Sure
it
to you.
is, yes.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Christ Hamilton has a very significant history. It is the second oldest church in the county, and at a point in our history, it was called the Mother Church. What changes in Christ Hamilton stand out to you the most?
Yeah, see, well, that was a period that I have no recollection of, and I would say if you were going to ask me what, it would be that our church was now one denomination and had our own pastor.
Yes, yes. So that happened during the time, well, Was that during this? That was during the 70s, I believe.
No, 70s, Push was here by then.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of when Pastor Ritterpush was here? Wasn't
Yeah.
he also going to
No,
some of the other churches?
he did.
now?
He was just here.
Okay.
But the pastor before him, Pastor Juris, or not Juris, none of them did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They had stopped, and the reform, they couldn't find ministers that would take 4 church charges.
Gotcha.
So, because the one was, for the reform was out in Kunkletown.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So,
Right.
but I can't, the years and stuff like that, I can't.
No, and that's fine. That's fine. When you think about Christ Hamilton's future, what excites you the most?
Well, I do like the vision that the group had come up with, and I dearly, dearly hope that we get volunteers back. Using volunteers to do things gives them an investment in the church that lies in their heart, not just coming to take money and forget it. And I've always found that we never had any trouble getting volunteers for all the stuff that we did. Just call people, and if they say no, they do, but we didn't get a lot of no's.
Yeah.
So
You'd like to see that come back. So
I would like to see the funeral dinners come back. The funeral dinners, it was amazing. We had like 4 people maybe in the kitchen cooking. There was a whole group of women that set up the tables in the main hall there for eating. We set up buffet. It was all buffet. And what the deal was that the family paid for all the food, but everything else was free. And I mean, there were people from all over the place that got to know this church because of those funeral dinners. And we did a couple wedding receptions, and we do anything
yes.
to do money, to earn money. We even did Dick Seidoff. I don't know if you've come across his name. Him and Evelyn were members of our church, and he was an auctioneer. So he said that we could bring food to sell at his auctions. So Gwen Vitti lent us her van, and Joan Eilenberger and I loaded up that van, and we went to the sale. We had hot water to cook hot dogs. Didn't have hamburgers, but we would call people for pies. So we had all kinds of homemade pies, and it was just so. We made a lot of money. We'd make $200
Yeah.
at an auction.
So that was all like part of that HCW.
That was
committee that you
HCW
were
project. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Very resourceful. Very
Yes, it
resourceful.
was. And we were actually looked down on by the big Lutheran churches in Strasbourg, because as the HCW, we were supposed to be folding bandages and things like that, not working and, doing stuff like that. So we ignored it.
What would you most like to remain the same at Christ Hamilton?
Well, I don't know. It seems to be going pretty good. I do, really like it when we are in the sanctuary.
Sanctuary, yeah.
Yeah.
Your mother, who you mentioned, Velma Hartman, was the person who began the work of collecting documents pertaining to Christ Hamilton's genealogy. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Well, Mother was always interested in genealogy, and I don't know if your families, but our families all had family reunions, and of course we like 3 or 4 of them that we went to, and she really became interested in the genealogy, and she had a book that Conrad Kresge, someone wrote for Conrad Kresge's
Yes, we have that in our
family,
collection.
and that our family is included in that, and she just became very interested. And then the farther she got, the more she realized what had happened, that we actually had been Northampton County. So she ended up going down there to gather a lot of information because it was cut off, here. And but she was very interested in it. Her and I think she was a cousin of hers. wrote a book about the Arnold family.
Yes, we have that as
They
well.
went to book, and if you go on the internet and put Mom's name in, it's going to mention that book.
Yes.
And they published the book, and I don't know how they did. Nancy and I didn't know what to do with them. There were so many cases because it was very close to the time that she had to stop. So we gave them to her son. I think it was her son, and I don't know what he did, but I think that they probably were sellable.
Okay. Yeah, all that we have here and that has been collected and what she
Yeah.
started is just remarkable.
I know,
And we
yeah.
are so fortunate here at Christ Hamilton to have
Yes.
so many preserved records, and I'm so
Well, I
grateful
can-
to her for starting
I can
all
barely
this.
read those books.
Yeah.
You know, the way they are, the initials and stuff that mean something, and
Yeah. She became quite the archivist.
But I have them all. Yeah,
Yeah,
she did.
She did.
She was a very smart lady.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very involved. Would you like to add anything more before we conclude this interview?
Well, not really. I just I've experienced the church's waves of strengths and weaknesses over the years. At one point, the Lutheran attendance dropped to 14 at a service, and the same was happening to the Reformed congregation. But God graced us and sent us a young pastor with the willingness and vision to unite the limping congregations. God knew that the people were united in their love of Jesus and ability to love each other. They just needed to recognize this. And so the congregation grew and attracted members from many miles away. Word was out. This little church in the country was dealing in love, and all were welcome.
Yes, and it just continue to continue.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sandy,
Oh, you're
for
very
sitting
welcome.
with us and sharing all your memories about Christ Hamilton. Very much
Well,
appreciated.
I have many more memories, but you know, we'll both be a lot older till we get until I remember them. Actually, yes. So,
Right.
but it's nice. I appreciated the opportunity.
Well, we thank you so much for doing this with us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Flow all right?